Now is the time we all need to think about pivoting. And I know some of us are sick of that word because times have been full of change, challenge, and transition. What we need right now are resilient leaders who know what to do next and lead their people into their next opportunity. We know that leaders help people move forward, focus on what's most important, and identify the specific actions their people need in order to pivot and do well. Now, we need to make sure that our people adapt to what's coming next, and this is where we have to focus on their issues. And the only way to do this is to understand the 6 stages of a crisis and then find out ways you can move through that crisis and then lead your team to that greater success. A couple of the questions that come to mind are, how can I better engage my people throughout this crisis? Can I help my people improve? What do I need to know about the people I serve so that they can move into their new stage of success? So just some quick information on me. I was in the Navy for about 25 years. I was very fortunate to serve in Asia for about 17 years. I was a professor at both the Air Force Academy and the Naval Academy, and I met my Marine Corps husband while we were both hunting the same terrorists. I'm the author of about 15 books, mostly around leadership and business. And I learned how to identify the stages of a crisis when I was in the Navy for the first Gulf War, the second Gulf War, and 9/11. The crisis one right now is different. This virus crisis has affected the world. Mostly, a crisis is more localized. In this case, it is a global pandemic. And the issue there is we've got to look beyond our locality. We've got to look beyond our immediate family, our friends, and our business, and we have to understand the stages that everyone is in, because this global pandemic is different. So let's get to the 6 stages of a crisis. In the beginning of any crisis, people have the natural response to mitigate or diminish the impact of that crisis on them. That's the rejection phase, the first stage of a crisis. People reject it. Now think about any crisis you've ever been through, whether it's a healthcare crisis of someone in your family or a close friend, whether it's an accident that happened, or whether it's the coronavirus. The first stage is rejection. People dismiss it. They say things like, it's just the bad flu. It won't really affect me. I'm pretty healthy. It'll be okay. It's not that bad. We reject it. This is very similar to the denial phase in the J-curve of change. We get into that phase where we don't want to hear it, we don't really want to know. Our first reaction is, oh, no, 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 no. The rejection phase. Again, it looks like the denial phase in the J-curve. Then we get into the second stage of the crisis, which is where we realize and we recognize that we've got to make a few adjustments. In the recognition phase, we understand that maybe some small changes have to be made. We might save some money on commuting. We might not have to worry so much about schedules because we're going to be on a more flexible schedule for a while until we go back to the office. When we're home, we suddenly decide, wow, this is kind of great. We can work in sweatpants or short pants or yoga pants, or for some people, no pants. I hope you all have pants on right now. And then some people say, I have to work from home. I get to work from home. I have to work from home. I get to work from home. And in the beginning, it was, I get to work from home. This is great. Before this started, less than 4% of Americans were working from home. And those people who were working from home, the average age was 49 years old. They made over $70,000 a year, and they were working for a company with over 100 employees, and by and large, they had college degrees. Now, over 56% of Americans are doing some kind of alternative work or work from home situation. And because of that, we have to understand the situation in the early stage of recognition shifted for a lot of people. And for some people, they thought this was fantastic because, okay, things have changed, but I get more time with family. Isn't this wonderful? Then we understand that now our workplace is now our home place. So a few things have to shift. And because of that, we move into the realization phase, the stage 3. And this means we realize we have to step up our leadership both at home and at work. All of a sudden we realize the stuff we've got at home right now, the gear we've been using this whole time, it's not going to cut it. We might need better technology. We might need to reconfigure our home office to a real office. We realize that our people need more of our time because we as leaders have to keep them on track and focused. And then that idea that this is going to be fairly short term all of a sudden hits us. This is going to go on for months, even years. And part of our brain recognizes the virus will be with us forever. And it's just a matter of how we work through it and how we deal with it. Because if you're nostalgic for 2019 and never having to worry about getting people together again, guess what? 2019 is not coming back. We have to deal with this virus forever. So stage 3 is this realization phase where you very pragmatically look at the specific actions you need to change to make working from home an option, homeschooling an option, and getting other people working from home in the same space, and it could be a very small space, but you realize you have to figure out a way to make it work. And then we get into the 4th stage, and that's the resolution stage. This is where we all figure out, okay, we've got this. We're in this together. We can do this. Let's support each other. Let's get through it. Hey, we're doing checking calls with each other. How you doing? How's your family? We've got this. We stay very resolute and focused on what we have to do. But these first 4 stages are very myopic. It's all about us and our family and our community and our job and our business. Very circle the wagons, very inwardly focused, the first 4 stages of any crisis. So I want to hear from you. What stage do you think your friends, your family, your employees, or your coworkers or your boss, what stage do you think they're in right now? I'd like you to text me. I'd like to hear from you. My text number is 443-995-8663. Again, it's 443-995-8663. I'd love to hear where you think the people surrounding you are in terms of the first 4 stages of a crisis. Are they in the rejection phase, the recognition phase, the realization phase, or the resolution phase? Go ahead and text me that answer, and I'm waiting for your replies. You've got 60 seconds. Welcome back. Thanks for texting me these words. Thanks for blowing up my phone and playing. This is terrific. Yes, some people are still in that rejection phase. You're absolutely right. Got some recognitions. Yep, I've had to change my whole workspace. I've had to adjust to having my kids home. I didn't realize my adult children were not going to stay out of the house once they moved out of the house. We've had to make some changes. Good, some resolution. People are figuring out they've got to support each other and work through this together. And then there's still some people in that recognition phase where they just don't think it's a huge deal. Wait, what is that? Okay, that wasn't an option. Thanks for staying with me and being anonymous so that we can all accurately and honestly assess where the people around us are, because how they perceive what's going on affects us. Now, my real leaders, my true leaders, have to understand the last 2 phases, and they need to stay in stage 6. And this is a little bit tough. The 5th stage is the reality phase. And this is where we understand that moving forward, everything is on the table for change. Everything. Thousands of details about how we do our business, how we run our communities, the things that we have to worry about at home. Thousands of small details will change. And I know that this has affected everyone. Maybe you've suddenly got senior people, maybe your parents had to move in with you because they can't move into assisted living. Maybe your adult children, ages 18 to 29. And by the way, we've got an all-time high on this because the 18 to 29-year-olds have moved back in with mom and dad and mom or dad because Things just got too expensive on their own. Maybe they lost their job. Maybe their college campuses were closed. The highest number of people affected by this moving back home are those 18 to 24-year-olds. But interestingly enough, the 18 to 29-year-olds, we've hit an all-time high in America of people who have moved back home to live with mom and dad. This is the highest number we've seen since World War II, when it was at 48%. Before the coronavirus hit the United States, we were only at 47%. And in the Northeast, where real estate is admittedly more expensive, in the far Northeast, that number has hit 57%. Interestingly enough, 55% of those 18 to 29-year-olds moving back home are male, only 45% are female. Just fun statistics for you. But this impacts the reality moving forward, because now you have to understand they may be staying with me for a while. They might be helping me homeschool my other children. Maybe you've got in-laws who were displaced and now they're living with you too. And maybe you're really rethinking the fact that that tiny house was a good idea back in January. We know moving forward, thousands of details will change. Think about the last time you bought a car. You probably had a choice of black or white or silver or blue or green or whatever color might be available at the time. And most cars are exactly the same as every other car on the road. They've all got a steering wheel, they've got an engine, drink cup holder, probably a stereo. Great. And they all pretty much do the same thing. But the differences are what make those vehicles unique. Now, moving forward, you don't just have a choice of the color of the car, whether you want cloth or leather seats, or how fancy the stereo is. Moving forward, thousands of details will change, including whether or not the car has an engine that uses gas, whether or not that car needs to have a steering wheel because it could be a driverless vehicle. Moving forward, thousands of details will change. Everything is on the table for reinvention, reimagination, and relaunching. This is the new reality. And this is forcing leaders to think about the realignment of their business moving forward. In the sixth stage of a crisis, the realignment phase, leaders are looking outward. They are focusing on how they're serving their customers, their members, their patients, their suppliers, and their partners. And it is forcing them to ask questions that affect other people. So, for example, in the new realignment phase, we're thinking about how do we best support our customers through this transition and beyond. How do we work cooperatively with our supply chains, with our competitors, and with our partners in order to make all of us better off? Where can we improve the processes of our organization so that we're more efficient, more effective, and better able to serve other people? What do we need to do moving forward as leaders? What do we need to do for our strategic plan? How does this affect our strategic planning on an organizational level beyond 2021? How do we equip our team to manage the change that they're going through? And what do we need to do to allocate resources even more effectively? How do we respond quickly to what the market needs from us? And how do we keep our people, who are admittedly wildly distracted during this time, focused on the mission, vision, and goals of our organization as it's changing every single day? How do we position ourselves best for success in the future? So in the reality and realignment phases, this is where leaders need to focus. This is where they need to stay. This is them thinking about others, not just themselves. This is leaders thinking about where we're going to be positioned in the future and how we best serve other people. And guess what? It's a hard place to go. It's very difficult when you're so worried about yourself, your family, your community, and keeping your job. It's hard to think about other people. So how do we best lead through a crisis? Our job as leaders is to get people to take the right action, even when it's not clear to them what that action is. In any crisis, challenge, or change, there's also opportunities. And from this coronavirus, we have also seen some businesses pivot really well so that they are not only serving people better, the healthcare industry comes to mind, but they're also maximizing opportunities. Now, I am not saying that you should capitalize on the suffering of others. That is not what I mean at all. This is a serious disease with serious consequences, and it has affected millions of people. But we as leaders have to stay optimistic. Now, an optimist isn't somebody who wakes up every day blissfully unaware of what's going on around them, thinking about sparkles and rainbows and unicorns. That's not what I'm saying. An optimist is someone who looks at a tough situation and says, you know what? I can make that better. I know what to do because my business, my focus, and my leadership is focused on helping other people move through where they are right now. In the pivot part of this program, I love acronyms, as you know. I use pivot as an acronym. So pivot is 5 letters. So it's purpose, influence, volatility, opportunities, and the T words are all tools, training, technology. You get to pick the one that works best for you. When we start talking about pivoting, many people shy away from that because it means change. So we try to make it easy. Let's start with purpose. Everybody wants to feel valued, respected, and appreciated in the workplace. And we as leaders have to give people the purpose they can focus on so that they feel as though, wow, when I get up in the morning and I start working, it's important. What I do matters. And especially during times of volatility, which is what we're in now, it can be sometimes difficult for people to see the big picture. So we have to understand our people are probably struggling right now identifying that purpose and staying focused on that purpose, so we have to help them. We might want to ask them questions and do more check-ins by asking serious questions about them. Hey, what is important to you right now? What is important to the people around you right now? In our organization, what is driving you? What's motivating you? What is helping you stay focused? And in our job, what do you find vastly satisfying about what it is we do? This helps your people focus on the reasons they joined your organization or got into this community in the first place. It can be very easy to sink into that day-to-day operations of work and getting paperwork done and filing reports and taking care of customers or patients. It can be very easy to get into that and not see the real difference you make with the world. And it's important for us as leaders to remind people of their purpose. Now, the I is influence or inspire. Some people prefer the word inspire. When we think about the I, the issue there is who are you able to help? Whose lives are you making better simply by what you do? Great leadership matters in the workplace. In the pivot model, the I's are the words that excite people around their purpose. So it might be igniting your passion. It might be illuminating your ideas. It might be imagining a new solution. It might be improving current processes. It might be increasing what we're able to deliver to other people. The I's describe our purpose. One of the fun exercises you can do with your team is give them a choice of adjectives that describe the purpose that drives them in their current situation. So we love the idea that we would be moving them from this purpose into the words that describe the purpose that helps them stay excited about what it is they do every day. Now, V, the volatility. We are in a volatile situation. Most people's lives are like a roller coaster or a sine wave or an earthworm, whatever that looks like. Our job as leaders is to keep people steady. It is to keep people focused and steady and make sure that they're not fluctuating so vastly that it causes them stress. And many people, if you ask them, how you doing? They're going to give you the same basic answers. They're going to say good, fine, great. Some people will be honest and say, my life is falling apart and I don't know what to do about it. When you ask people how they're doing in a volatile situation, what you're trying to do is figure out what your response is to them as a leader. So I like to use a scale. I say, hey, on a scale of 1 to 10, how are you doing with everything going on around you right now, this minute? And if they say, Great, never better. I love the fact that my kids are all home. I get to spend more time with my children. It turns out my 6-year-old is wickedly funny. My 9th grader is tutoring her friends in chemistry and math. And my adult child who moved out of the house 7 years ago is now back. And it turns out they're fantastic. I'm a 9.5. My day is fantastic. We are closer as a family now than ever. I love this. Your job as a leader is pretty easy for that person. But if they say, I'm a 2, my wife or my husband or my spouse or my partner lost their job, my adult children are all moved back into the house, my in-laws moved in with us, it turns out I don't understand Common Core math, and my kitchen table is crowded with everybody on their computers and their tablets, and we're all fighting for bandwidth. It's a 2. I haven't had a good night's sleep in 6 months. That's a whole different response as a leader to that person. So you can ask them questions that might help them through this. Hey, what can I do to help you? Is there something that we can do to make your situation right now a little bit easier? Because I would like to help you with this. Now, some of you know I was in the Navy for 25 years. In the Navy, we practice things every single day so that when chaos, challenge, and change happen, we're ready for it. We like to say we train like we fight. And that means practicing things that we would do in a wartime situation on a fairly frequent basis. We actually get a readiness score that assesses how prepared we are for that next crisis. If you've ever toured an aircraft carrier, it looks quite large. But then you have to think about the idea that we land planes in that space. Now, in the old days, when I first started out in the Navy, our aircraft carriers, the Midway, which is now a museum, was only about 2 football fields long, just 2 football fields. So if you've ever been to a football game, you know how big the football field is. And not the bleachers, not the end zones, just the field. That's as big as you're trying to land a plane on. That's it. Our current aircraft carriers are about the size of 3 football fields. 3 football fields. Now think about that, and then think about the fact that there's about 10 stories on our aircraft carriers. And then think about the fact that we've got 5,000 people living and working on that aircraft carrier at all times. And the average age of the average worker on an aircraft carrier, 19.5 years old. So we have to make sure that people are okay with volatile situations because the work we do is different. When you're launching planes off an aircraft carrier deck, it's dangerous work. We do have safety precautions in place as much as possible, but naval aviation is dangerous. We get up close and personal to jet engines. And we have to make sure that every team member is doing their job for us to be successful that day, which means if they're in a situation where mentally, physically, emotionally, they're not 100%, it could impact our mission. So we're aware of the volatility that's going on with the people around us. Now let's get to the opportunities. The O in pivot is opportunities. We have to see the opportunities and be able to figure out how we're going to make the situation better. What specific opportunities do you see now? Where is there a need, either in the marketplace, in your community, or maybe even with your family? Your business probably has shifted a good bit because of what's going on. So we try to identify opportunities, ways to get even better. Now, before this crisis hit, most businesses were doing, frankly, pretty well. And the reason was we've had this great economic engine moving forward for the last 5-6 years. So it wasn't that hard to do well in business. And now all of a sudden, the whole virus crisis has taken a big spotlight and put it right up in front of our business. And now we see where some of the cracks are. This is a great opportunity to find and fix those cracks in the foundations of our business. And these are areas of opportunity. So I'd like to invite you to think about, in these 5 buckets of areas of opportunity, where we can perhaps make improvements. Let's start with our people, our most important asset in our business. A year ago, it was really tough to find people to hire. And now, with the unemployment rate higher, that's actually an advantage for you if you're looking to grow your business. So think about who you can hire now, what kind of training might they need, how you're going to develop them, and how you're going to promote them within your organization. Then we look at processes. What kind of process improvements can we make right now, again, to seal up those cracks in our foundation? What can we stop doing because it's no longer important? What can we simplify because we made it too complicated? What needs to be streamlined so that it's easier for people to work through what they need to do? What do we need to strategize on to have continuous process improvement? Then you might want to look at technology. What can you simplify? What can you automate? What can you innovate? And what can you create that would allow for more technology to do jobs that your people, frankly, don't want to do? Technology is moving at a forced, accelerated rate of change, and we need to be aware of it and take advantage of the opportunities that's presenting us. Now, all of us in business are always aware that we've got scarce resources in terms of time, labor, money, capital, inventory. All those things are resources that we have to allocate efficiently and effectively. So in terms of resources, what can we repurpose or retool or realign that makes better sense for our business of the future moving forward? And then I need to mention the training aspect of your people. Before all this happened, 71% of millennials said they would leave a job within 2 years if they were not personally and professionally developed at work. We need to make sure that training remains a vital part of staying ahead of the curve. Now in the Navy, we say you can swim with the tide, you can float with the tide, or you can swim against the tide. Nobody asked for this virus crisis. Nobody asked for any crisis. But as leaders, we can't just float with the tide, and some people are. We can't swim against the tide and hope for that nostalgic time back when we didn't have to worry about this. No, we have to not only swim with the tide, but like a surfer, we have to get ahead of that wave, and we have to lead our people into where they need to be. And this involves great training. Many organizations have training that just mindlessly check blocks because somebody said we had to do this training to make sure that we didn't have lawsuits. In my mind, training needs to be innovative and interesting and important and instrumental and helpful to people who are working with you. So please don't neglect the very important bucket of opportunity of training, because now some people actually have more time to do training now that they are working from different work sites. So think about the fact that in the opportunities bucket, you're looking for a need, a hole in the marketplace, or some kind of place in the industry that didn't exist before, and maybe you can step into that. There is a store now called COVID-19 Essentials in the Park Meadows Mall in Colorado. And it's COVID-19 Essentials. They sell fun face masks, they sell fun shields, all these things that none of us had before. And I don't know if you were like me, but if you're not in the healthcare industry, how many of us had masks wandering around our house? Somebody said, well, don't you have a bandana? No, because I'm not Billy the Kid, and I wasn't thinking about robbing a bank that day. No, I didn't have a bandana. No, I didn't have a mask. And now I probably own 100 of the boxes of masks and the ones that my friends have made for me, and some with dogs on it, and some with wine glasses on it. Now we've got masks everywhere. They're in our purse, they're in our briefcase, they're in our car, they're in our house, they're everywhere. Masks have become part of everyday life. But remember, in the beginning, they were scarce. Some companies pivoted in order to make masks. And then some promotional companies got smart and said, you know what? We can make masks with our company logo on them. That's what I'm talking about when I say look for the opportunities. Figure out the trends and what needs to happen next. Now, if you want to do an exercise with your team about finding opportunities, I suggest thinking about asking a series of questions. For example, we want to maybe ask, where are there unmet needs where we could help out? So Hanes is a company, for example, which we all know mostly for underwear. They now make masks. Where can I best serve other people? Whether it's your community, your end users, what does that look like? Where can we best serve our current clients, customers, maybe our patients, our members? Where can we best serve them right now? What do they need from us? And what are my people's immediate needs right now? A quick check-in with your people. Hey, what do you need right now? What would make your life easier? How can we help? To encourage big thinking, take cost out of the picture. If you had plenty of money, plenty of resources, and plenty of time to think about this, what would you do differently to grow your business and move forward? When you're thinking about searching for opportunities, get your team together and do some valuable brainstorming activities and think outside the possible right now. Most of us are so conditioned to think in terms of our current restraints, which is our budgets, it's our time, and it's maybe our current operations. Moving forward, all of that is on the table to change. So get your people together and say, what is the craziest idea that we could do that might solve this problem, even if it hasn't been invented yet, even if that solution hasn't been invented yet? What would be crazy? And get your people to throw out suggestions, because somewhere in there is a great idea that could make you even more successful. What are the benefits of having this challenge to you right now? Is it forcing you to think more creatively? Is it forcing you to develop new products and services? Is it helping you be a better leader? Is it helping your people step up? Alternate work sites are an amazing place to figure out who's actually delivering what it is you need. It's a great equalizer. And we've suddenly realized that, wow, people can be really productive even if they're not at work. In a year, what will we say was a great outcome of this situation? As leaders, it's important that we keep our people focused on moving forward. So I want to hear from you right now. Can you think of one thing, just one thing, that the past 12 months has actually made better? Yes, it's easy to get into that despair and negativity and thoughts that aren't exactly healthy because everybody else is doing it. Our job as leaders is to help people think about the good. Again, see the opportunities, see the possibilities. So I'd like you to think about one thing that's been made better by the last 12 months. And it can be anything. It can be small, but just one thing. And I'd like you to text me, yes, the word yes, if you can think of one thing that's actually improved. And my phone number again is 443-995-8663. Again, it's 443-995-8663. Just text me the word yes if you can think of something that's actually improved over the past 12 months. Now, if nothing has, feel free to text me no. I want you to be honest, and this is all anonymous. Ready, set, go. Excellent. Thank you so much. Look at the yeses that came in. Look at the yeses. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, a couple no's. I totally understand that. For some people, maybe you lost somebody. Maybe it's just been really traumatic and that's all you can think of right now. But when you've got people around you, more yeses, more yeses, more yeses. When you've got people around you who are struggling, it is sometimes helpful to do that count your blessings idea. Get your people together, give them a piece of paper and say, I'd like you to write down 5 ways your life has gotten better or something positive that's going on right now. And what this exercise does is it takes your brain and helps you focus on the good things, on the gratitude. And all of a sudden people say, wow, you know what? It hasn't been that bad after all. And it shifts their thinking. Leaders today have to know more. We have to plan more. We have to be more comfortable with chaos and change. And we have to make change easier for our people. Leaders of the future also have to find a way to merge technology with their people in a way that works for the organization. And this takes us to the T in Pivot. This is where tools, technology, and training all come together because it's part of the opportunity. We know that organizations in the future need innovative ideas. They need to be adaptable. They need to have creative problem solvers in their organization, and the leaders have to make decisions even when those decisions are hard. So when we talk about the tools aspect, that's what your people need on a day-to-day basis in order to do better, even better, at their jobs. Now, this might mean getting a new computer because they don't necessarily have the right bandwidth at home on their current computer. And you kind of don't want your people working from home and also doing their budgeting work on your child's school's iPad. Probably not what you want. In tools, you also have to remember you've got people at your disposal. You have people you have your entire network. Reach out to your network and find out some innovative ideas, other things people are doing, and brainstorm with your peers and people you know professionally. You might also want to think about what you need to learn to use moving forward in the future as a tool that can be embraced by your organization. Training. Training is a vital part of every organization, and now is a terrific time to accelerate the skill sets of your people. It is easier than ever to get online programs. It's easier than ever to take online courses, and it's easier than ever to have quick, short communications with people in a training environment. Some people prefer to read articles or books or watch videos. It all counts. Training needs to be focused on what will help your people the most. Finally, technology. Technology is accelerating and it is changing every single day. We have to make sure that we're not using older technology that might make us less competitive. We have to make sure that if we need to invent something, that we invent that. If what we're using right now doesn't work, now is a great time to fix the technological gaps that we might have going on in our organization. And we need to be able to use technology to help people find us so that we are able to better serve them. Now, you all know that leadership is creating the vision, influencing others in order to help them get to those goals, helping others realize that they're making great contributions to the organization, communicating the message because you own the message, motivating the people around you, and helping the organization thrive by strategizing in the best possible ways. Leaders need to pivot, and that means they need to think really big thoughts. Solving the problems of today's customers and consumers is important, but great leaders are already thinking about solving the problems of customers and clients 1, 3, 5, 10, and 20 years into the future. They're thinking really big thoughts, and they're crafting a strategy that is going to take their organization into the future. And from that strategy, then they create the action plans needed to move the organization forward. Some managers are struggling to lead remote work teams. I'm here to tell you, remote work is here to stay. Even after the whole virus scare sort of subsides, there's still going to be many people who found out they're more productive at home. They like working from home. And this is a big shift leaders are making right now. If people can work remotely, this means we are judging them based on the outcomes they produce and not just on the time they punch by being in the office. It's a great equalizer, but this also means that every single worker who is working remotely is now competing with every single other worker working remotely, which means you're not competing with just the people sitting at the desks around you. You're now competing with every single other person on the planet who can do what you do. And this means workers have the responsibility to be more engaged, more productive, and more skilled at the jobs they do. Great managers know that they have to take the obstacles that their people see, reduce the obstacles into manageable chunks, and help their people move through this. In the 657 program, 7 are the leadership techniques that leaders can use to get their people through a crisis. And you know I love my acronyms, so the acronym for this is CLAMPER. It actually started from one of my healthcare practices, and it just kind of worked for some of my other teams too. And that's what we use, CLAMPER. The first, the C, is be calm and reassure others when you're in the middle of a crisis, challenge, or change. People need leadership that is strategic, that has a presence of authority, and a vision that they can follow so that they are guided through the situation. In a crisis situation, be and stay calm so that you can make the right decisions at the right time. The L is lead through the volatility, and that means active leadership, not passive leadership. Don't assume your people know what to do during difficult times. Tough times require creative thinking, innovative ideas, but most importantly, people need leadership, strong leadership that they understand so that they know they're going to get through these difficult times and be okay on the other side. The A is adapt quickly to opportunities and the changing environment. The Chinese word for crisis is a combination of the word opportunity and danger, which is kind of where a lot of leaders are right now. So adapting quickly to the opportunities means you're seeing where there is a hole in the marketplace and you're moving quickly to fill it, while at the same time, you're improving your processes, your procedures, and your people. The M in Clamper is manage the uncertainty. People can handle bad news. What they can't handle is not knowing. So give your people the information you have as soon as you have it, even though you know it's maybe not complete. Some leaders, managers, and supervisors pull back from giving their people the information they have because they say, you know what, this could cause more questions. I don't want to make people upset. I don't want them to get partial information right now, knowing that we don't have a full solution. Let me share with you that your people would rather have some information now from you than read about something that's going on with the company in the news or online. They want to know that the information they're getting is accurate as much as possible, and they want to hear it from you. Again, people can handle bad news. What they can't handle is uncertainty. The P in Clamper is promote collaborationship. We have to encourage people to work together. When people coalesce as a team, we get better results. And sometimes people don't understand that some of your closest collaboration might happen with your closest competitors. The E in Clamper is to encourage resiliency. Resiliency happens when you've done something and you know you're going to be okay at the end of it. It's kind of like confidence. Confidence doesn't happen because somebody's cheering for you and saying, yay, you can do it. Confidence happens by doing. Resiliency is much the same way. Resiliency is going through adverse situations and coming out on the other side of it. And the resiliency builds because you know you can do it. So encourage resiliency. Encourage your people to try, and that means they might fail, but encourage people to try, and that will build resiliency within your organization. The R in Clamper is to respond correctly to changing information. There are some leaders who say, but I already made the decision on that, so I can't change it. Well, a very wise person once said, if I make a decision and I know I'm wrong, I know I need to change the decision. And that would be more correct. Take the right decisive action based on the information you have at the time. That will help build confidence in your teams. It increases trust throughout the organization, and it helps people understand that there is, in fact, a path forward, and you have that path. So now you know the 6 stages of a crisis, and you can now identify where your people are in those stages and help them move on to the next leadership stage. You also know the 5 ways to pivot in a crisis, what you need to do, how to find the opportunities, and the actionable steps that will work to help your organization thrive. And the 7 ways to lead your people, not just through the crisis, but throughout the crisis, so that they are at their fullest potential, your business is successful, and everyone moves forward in a positive way.